Alright, everybody. Welcome back. Last time we, actually, let's not say that. Let's go over what we've done so far with these sprites. So, our first sprite sheet with all of our basic enemies and our player ships and our weapon systems are all on here on the very first sprite sheet. I removed anything that has an animation except for this one right here. This one right here, he blinks and he's the only enemy that has an animation right now. But the reason why I did that was because I want to be able to import all of the animations to a single sprite into the game engine, highlight it, and automatically apply the animation. I'm not sure if that's how Unreal Engine 5 works, but I know that's how Godot, Unity, that's how those two programs do it. You basically import one sprite, import it as an animation, and it takes care of all the legwork for you. So we're going to take advantage of that and split up our sprite sheets so that way they work in that manner. The other thing we have is our console with our matching orbs, and we have our health bar that is extendable for as long as I want it. We also worked on the shield jelly, which that one looks like that. In this video that I did last time, I showed off how to do this, so that way you can use it for torches and anything with like a blinking light or a light coming off of a campfire, anything like that. It all works for all those types of animations, but again, it's an animation, so I split it off into its own sprite sheet. And then I did the same thing with the eye. It's got a 3-step animation, so it wouldn't have been more work, not by much, to overlay the animation in the game engine, but this way we ain't got to do any of that. Extra work is still extra work, right? So we went ahead and did the work now, so that way we can just overlap it, or import it as an animation sprite and be done with it. So today, what we're going to work on is we are going to start on our menu buttons. This is our start screen. This is our buttons that you might see at the end after you die. So like your try again button, or even your back button, which will be probably on the console somewhere, and you'll just be able to click that and exit out of your run if you want to. A lot of games don't do that when it comes to roguelike type games like this. They usually make you finish the run and then you can save your progress or whatever else. I think this game will probably save your progress after each run. So if you're at the doctor's office or something and the doctor just calls you in, you can hit the back button out and you'll lose all that work, but you can stop playing your game pretty quickly. There is some value in that. I don't think it's a button people would naturally use, just something that I had in mind. But anything like that I may want to implement, I want to create the buttons for now, so that way I'm not going back and having to recreate the buttons. So, let's go ahead and get started. We'll get started with the start screen buttons. I figured we could use these in a manner. So, we could use this as our play button. And I'll show you what I mean. And this is another thing you want to do in pixel art and 3D modeling, from what I've heard, is you want to be able to reuse your assets. If you can reuse your assets to make your life easier, do it. Make it faster. Because one, you're not going to be pulling your hair out trying to come up with a whole new design, and two, it's going to add a bit of cohesion to your work. So I'm going to use this as a quit button, this as a play button, and either this one or this one for options. I think I'll use the blue for options. And we'll go here, and we'll go here, and we go boom. Alright. So now we have the start of our inventory button. So now what's cool about this, or not our inventory buttons, I'm sorry, our menu buttons for our start screen. So we want to make this say play, essentially. So there's a couple ways we could do this. We could highlight this half, and we can go CV, and you take it right over here to the end, and should have just cut it. Should have did XV. Oh well. Take it right over here to the end, delete this, and we can turn this whole thing into our button by just taking our eyedropper tool and then taking our brush tool and just extending all of this stuff out. So you want to keep your shadows where they are, you know, you want to make sure everything lines up well. So now you can see this right here is brighter than this, so we can just take this out and make this our highlights a little bit. You want to try to keep your highlights inside of each of the 16 by 16 squares, so that way if you try to break it up, it doesn't look all crazy. And then, you know, you can just make it look cohesive is the best way to do it. Now you can make it look even on both sides, but it's not even on both sides because you got the light hitting from the right hand side because of the way the orbs were actually laid out. So now what you can do, so G, there you go. Now let's adjust these and make these a little bit more wrapped to the actual design. So now we gotta move this up, take this away. And really, a lot of this is gonna be just pushing your own pixels around and getting something that you like, versus actually having like, alright, I have to do it this way, you know, type of thing going on. It's your art style, it's your work. As long as you like it, somebody else will like it. If you're not satisfied with it, delete it, try it again, gather more references for something that you might like a little bit better. That sort of thing. You know, do the work, especially if you're just starting to learn how to do pixel art. You definitely wanna look at reference, and I mean, I still look at references, but a lot of the work that I do now, I look at real life references because I kind of understand how to make circles in pixel art and your fundamental shapes that you would learn whenever you're actually learning to draw. You're doing the same thing in pixel art. You're learning to draw, you're learning how to make the basic shapes, and then you're looking at real life stuff and trying to replicate it in your work. So there's a button, right? This is going to be our play button. So I'm going to make a new layer for words. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get some reference for pixel art lettering. Like I said, pull up reference and find something that you like and then recreate that thing. Now if you have a drawing tablet, making stuff in text is a lot easier. Or you can use this text tool over here if you don't mind the generic texts. You can just kind of lay out where you want the word to be. And I don't want it to go into any of the darker spots. And I want it to be generally centered. So see, that's a little wonky. So let's try to make it a little bit smaller than that. And we're going to change the color that we're using. Let's see here. I think I want it to be dark and then highlight when you scroll over it. And a lot of these a lot of these things can also be done in the game engine. I'm just trying to do them here so that way I can do them with everybody. And then that way we can actually see how we can make them in a sprite and then you know, have them in our game engine and not have to recreate them in the game engine. So this is a little wonky. So let's see if we can just cut this out of here. See, and this is another reason why using text tool in this is actually not great. Even though it makes the letters for you, it's a little wonky when it comes to moving it and things like that. Because now, as you can see, it doesn't want to let me. Let's move around the highlight, but it's not letting me move around the actual letters. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Is we're going to use that as our reference. So we're just going to do this. Type in the words that we want. Alright, cool. Now we're going to take the color that we just used for that. We're going to hit B. And we're going to make it just like this. We're going to make the letters just as they are. And that way we can space it out in the way that we want. And have the thickness that we want and all that. And you can edit it in a sprite. You can edit the font. You can edit like basically the word styles can all be edited in a sprite. So now we're just going to take this away. Take this away. Come here, put that there. We're going to move this up. Move this up. Move this up. There we go, we have our P. And doing it this way will allow me to go ahead and move the letters around individually until I get something I like. As far as placement goes, anyway. So we're just going to make a Y. Delete this. Very nice. definitely like the boulder lines, so we're just gonna go with that on all of these. We're gonna have our boulder lines, and don't think I'm gonna be able to do it that way. I like the P, don't get me wrong. Alright. I think I'm just going to use a text font after all. Put it right here where I wanted it originally. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to 8. And we're going to put in play, and we're going to find our placement. I think it needs to be a little bit smaller than that because we don't want this Y down here. So we're going to go from here to here. And it completely ignored the sizing. Which is a little irritating. We may have to do it in the game engine because it will allow us to manipulate the colors of the letters in there. We don't have to make an animation for it. And we'll be able to adjust the font and other things like that a lot easier, a lot more easily in the game engine text editor. But I'll give it one more try, and if I cannot get these words in a way that I like them, then we will move on. And not to mention in the game engine, you can also get them a lot more centered than you can in here. And when you're doing it in A-Sprite, you're kind of just winging it. You're kind of just trying to do your best to kind of guess at where things will look good going. And guessing at anything when it comes to pixel art is really hard until you get like really good. I would say like Adam Young could probably do it. Brandon James Greer could probably do it. Me, I'm still learning pixel art and the tricks of pixel art, and I can tell you that there is no way that I can just eyeball stuff. And that's also why pixel art takes me longer too, is that I'm eyeballing things and I'm trying to make them look at a point that I like them, you know? And that's the whole thing, right? If you can make something that you personally like, then someone else will find it attractive. Someone else will like your style. Somebody else will like what you're making, and that's, you know, making stuff that's cool to you is awesome. It is a lot of the time how people get into this stuff. They want to make things that look cool to them. But making stuff that looks cool to other people, that to me is even better. I love when people come up to me and go, "Oh, that looks awesome. How did you do that?" That sort of thing. When I was making the iBoss for this game, when I was showing how to cheat the animations for it, pretty much, my girlfriend stopped and was like, "Holy crap! I didn't know you could do that." But that kind of thing gives me a lot more. It gives me a lot of like dopamine release, I suppose. Really inspires me, you know. But there's our play button, and we want it to turn a different color when we hover over it, and then we want it to move down whenever it is pressed, or highlight a darker color to make it look like it's pressed. So we're going to do Alt-N to make our new animation area. Actually, no, we won't do that just yet. We will go ahead and just make these other two buttons for our options and our quit. We'll do that first. That way we only have to do the layer design once. So we're going to take this and we're going to go to our menu buttons. I was on words, sorry about that. And we're going to move this right across, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our lines, connect them with our brush tool and our eyedropper tool, and we're going to go to the next one, and we're going to connect those two. Then we're going to fix the reflections and fill the rest of this in. So we're going to fix the reflections. We're going to take this brighter color over here, and we're going to go ahead and do this. You really want to create that feeling of it trailing off, because you still want it coming from that right side. So you definitely still want to get that feeling of it's trailing off. I only have 3 colors on this button, so I have to kind of make do with the colors that I have, because even these highlights, even though they look darker than these, is because the contrast isn't as high. So like this is a really dark blue, this is a lighter blue, but this is the same blue as the highlights. So this is a brighter blue, these look less saturated. Something to keep in mind when you're in pixel art, you can literally change the colors of pixels by placing them next to other pixels. It's kind of insane that you can even do that, but it's a trick of the mind. And I love it. I try to use it as much as possible because it intrigues me. Because it even works on you. You know, because you're the one who made it, you know that the color is either the same or, you know, just a less saturated version of another color. And yet, even to your eyes, you're like, that looks different, but I know it's not, because you scroll in on it and you're like, that's crazy. At least I do. It really makes me, it rubs my brain the right way, you know? It all tingly in my brain when I see stuff like that, because it's intriguing, I guess. Or I'm just weird. It's a good possibility as well. That I'm just a strange individual that finds entertainment in those types of things. Completely valid to say that. So we're just going to do the same thing we did over on the other side, and we're going to make these highlights a little bit better. That's all we're doing, is we're just moving these highlights around so that way they look more rounded. Really, honestly, I could get rid of the highlights on these all the way to the left side, because it kind of looks like the light's shining on them from straight on, or from like over your right hand shoulder, you know? So it's hitting over here mainly, and the light's scattering this way. I could actually remove these highlights. Let's just see how that looks. Let's remove these highlights and see if that looks any better. And remove this highlight right here. Let's see. That actually looks way cleaner like that. I think I might like that as far as buttons go, because it just looks a lot cleaner. There's a lot less going on. So now I just have to change this highlight, go back through and grab all of these really dark spots and leave the lighter spot there because it's showing basically shadow. You know, it's showing the roundness of the button. That's why you get this effect. But that shining light, that's actually really, I think that's a lot cleaner. I like it. Let's go ahead and just cut up our red button right now and make it the same as the other two. And we'll just go ahead and finish this one up. And then we'll go ahead and, you saw how I did the play words in this video, and I don't really want this video to be too long. I did that in my first video, and a lot of people didn't even watch it because it was 2.5 hours of me just rambling about this. And don't get me wrong, there are some people, I think, out there that enjoy the whole long format thing, or watching silent videos and just kind of following what the artist is doing. I've learned things that way. That's actually a really fun way to learn, because you're just pausing the video and then trying to repeat what the artist has done in the video. Although, like, not knowing what buttons they're pushing and stuff like that, that is a kind of a pain, and why I vote in for actually talking about what I'm doing, so that way everybody's not completely in the dark. And any of these tools that I have in Aseprite, you can go over here and you can scroll and you can see eyedropper tool is I, brush tool is B, eraser tool is E. They'll give you tooltips for each of these, and there's some I don't use tooltips for, like the rectangle or the line tool. I don't use the shortcuts on my keyboard for them. I just go over there and click them. But like the eyedropper tool and the brush tool, your best friends. They will always be your best friends because they're going to do 90% of the work for you. Anyway, there are our 3 buttons. I think what I'll do for the red button too, I'll make the back button. So what I'll do is I'll just go grab another copy of this, Control C, and then we'll we'll extend the canvas. How about that? We'll extend the canvas down, by 16 by 16. I like to have a space between each of my buttons because it just looks neater to me. I have always been scolded about I need to use less room on my sprite sheets, but having this cut like this, where you have this space in between, yes, it adds more space to your sprite sheet. Yes, it's not the most efficient thing in the world, but if you have any mistakes, any overlap in the game engines, you don't have to worry about it overlapping with another sprite. You don't have to like try to cram them in there and one pixel be off, and then you have to go back into the sprite sheet, adjust everything anyway, and just to get it to cut right on the game engine. This way, you set the cell size to 16 by 16, boom. You have everything cut exactly into little pieces the way that you need it. Like these right here, you put the grid size into 16 by 16. Each of these buttons will be cut up into individual segments. So then you can take these individual segments and you can extend your buttons as long as you want. You can use these things for other things besides just buttons. You can take this half and create something brand new with, you know, like let's say you wanted to make capsules that the ships are sitting on. You could use these as platforms and then place these ships on top of those platforms, and that be your menu for choosing a player's ship that you're going to play with. A lot of this is going to be cosmetic, but it's still fun to have in a game. I don't like having the same character, the same ship the entire time. I like having other things that you can unlock by playing the game. It gives a sense of progression, and seeing the visual representation of your character change makes you feel like you're achieving something in the game. I like that. Like this right here, down here, I'm going to call this the Scarab. This guy right here, he's going to be called the Scarab, and he's going to be the last thing that you get to unlock. But making him was a complete accident. That just came out of trying to make this guy. I was trying to make a new enemy that didn't look like the other enemies, and this came out of it. And pixel art will do that. 3D modeling will do that. And I think that's why I like those two mediums so much, is that you can do crazy things with pixel art and 3D modeling. But anyway, I'm ranting again. Let's go ahead and just get this knocked out. I'm just going to go ahead and delete these internal highlights with the internal button color, and then we're going to go Shift N, and we're going to go back button emblem. How about that? And then we're just going to make an arrow. We're just going to make an arrow that represents back. We'll make it dark, so that way it's fairly obvious what it is. And that's another thing, you really want to make sure that you're making this pixel art. If you have a hard time telling what it is, your players are not going to be able to know what it's supposed to be at all. Because if it's hard for you to know what it is, and you're the one making it, your players are going to be like, what is that? Or what does that mean? Or, you know, and then they'll press it, then they'll figure it out, but you want to make it more fairly obvious of what it's supposed to be in the first place. That's just going to help your game development process. Or your game development as a whole is going to be better if people can look at, oh, that's a back arrow. Oh, that's like how do I put the game? You see this in the top right hand corner or on the console, and you're like, oh, that's how I quit. All right. You know, make something like that. And you can make something like this for all of your buttons. If you're making on-screen buttons, you could do this. You can take these right here, and you can make up, down, left, and right, or A and B, or a number of things. But I'm just going to use that as a quit button. So there you go. I think I actually am going to just delete the words here and make them in the game engine. I do like this. I do like these words, so I might keep them. Just going to move them out of the way, and so they don't show up on the sprite sheet, we're going to hide them for now. Control S to save, and we have the first beginnings of our button. Next video, we're going to go ahead and do the animations for these buttons. We're either going to make a pressed state for them, or we're going to make a highlight and darken state for them. So it's probably going to be a highlight and darken state for these, or a color inversion, because we didn't make any kind of stand or anything like that they're in. But we'll see. We'll go ahead in the next video, take a look around, and see what will be the most effective way to do this. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to support me in what I'm doing here and trying to make this Space Invaders Match 3 game, then go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel. I think I'll start a Patreon soon, because I'm really thinking about putting this guy and the shield jelly on a t-shirt. I kinda would love this to be like on the front of a hoodie or something, and then like have maybe a couple of these cool ships on the shoulders, you know, like patches on the shoulders. I don't know. The thought crossed my mind, and I'm like, that actually might be really cool. Anyway, if you guys would like to see something like that when I do start a Patreon, let me know. I'll just make it exclusive to the Patreon, and the only way that you can buy them is by being a member of my Patreon. And it's probably something like $1 a month or something that you pay to be a member, and then you can just buy the t-shirts at what it costs me to design them and order them. But if anybody's interested in that, let me know in the comments. I do check the comments on these videos, and I will go ahead and see you guys next time.